This is one of those rare days in LA where it's raining. It's late April and it's raining. I'm used to it being actually kind of hot now. But I will take the rain because you always need the rain here in LA County. I am going to be doing another transparency collage and share with you the process after I start my building. What I'd like to do is take this wonderful image. I want to make her a transparency, but when you are working with this kind of tape, it's a little difficult because you're limited to the length and the width of the packing tape. And I actually like using tape that isn't really expensive, nothing fancy. You can get this at Home Depot or any other place where you buy packing tape. The cheaper the better, actually, because I find that works better when you create the transparency. What I want to do is make her a transparency. So I'm going to probably cut the body into sections, and I'm hoping to use maps for the area that will glow through that transparency. Got a little work ahead of me if I'm going to do that, because there's going to be some careful cutting, not necessarily fussy cutting, but I will be doing a lot of careful cutting pretty soon here. So, let's get started. So as you can see, this is not going to be an easy task. Just putting the model back together, because I have so many smaller pieces, is going to be a challenge. But I think I'm up for it. I'm going to give myself a bit of leeway in that we're going to deviate maybe. She's not going to look exactly like this, because I might lose some of these little pieces, and that's because it's collage and we can do that here, and we will. So next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get some pieces of this tape. I'm not thrilled about these little lines, but I'll have to figure something out later. And just a really quick review of how to do transparencies with tape. I just cut a piece. And I find I just want to be really careful moving this. Let's choose this leg. And I'm going to find a spot on my mat. This over. I don't really want to move the pieces away from each other. They are moving away. Kind of a puzzle. Take my tape and I lay it directly onto the image that I want to make a transparency. I got something there I'm not happy about. Not too much I can do about it. Oh, I didn't get all of it. Shoot. Okay. See, that's going to happen too. I tried to get all of the leg. There's just a little bit that did not get covered by the tape. I will cover it probably with a little bit of tape. I'd like to keep this as close as possible to its original image, so it works like the puzzle I just mentioned. I'm gonna try to keep it together like a jigsaw puzzle. And what I do is take a tool like my scissors here and just burnish this on. And what this is doing is that adhesive on the tape is capturing the ink of your image. You can do this with vintage paper, you can do this with construction paper, you can do it with anything you want to experiment with, and I always recommend experimentation in art. This is a laboratory right now. So I'm just going to keep on that burnishing. I'm going to take a little bit more tape because I do want to cover as much as I can that piece that did not get covered. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Hold on. So this is what makes the packing tape a little rough. Usually I fold it over. Oh, just give me a second here. Trying to find that. I'm glad I have nails, but yeah, I wanted to avoid this too, because this makes it just harder. Let's see, where is that? Is the line even there? I think yeah, it is there. Oh my gosh. So sometimes I even keep a pencil nearby and I wrap it over the pencil. I'll show you guys when I figure this out in a second. Okay, that didn't take as long as I thought. Okay, so just for the future, when this happens, after I cut the tape, sometimes I just take a pencil and I stick it right here, right where the edge is. And that way I can begin again. And let's just cut. It'll be easier to pick up later. So you can do that, or you can just fold it over. So I am going to use a smaller piece of tape and just cover up a little bit of the leg that I missed. Off camera here. Oh my gosh. I am not having an easy day with this. This is a lot tougher than I thought it would be. I like to overlap because it makes it stronger later, and it shouldn't affect the look of the image. It's just a little bit of a line, but I like overlapping my packing tape. It just makes it stronger. You could put it side by side if you want to. The problem may be when you create the transparency, you may have a gap. It may create a gap because it isn't overlapping. It's right next to each other and there's not enough strength to keep it together. Okay, we have our image here. It is under tape. We're going to make our transparency. So I burnished it. It's ready to go. I'm going to take my X-Acto for this because it's more delicate. It's more precise than some of the other transparencies we've been working on. And I am simply cutting along here. You don't have to do this precise cutting right now. You can wait until after the transparency. So I'll just do half to show you what I'm talking about. So I just did a real careful, exact cutting right here. But surely what I can do is simply pull it up gently, always gently. And I can cut. I can use my scissors and I can cut. And that's actually probably going to be easier. I'm going to cut and leave a little bit of space because that'll help me when I'm creating the transparency, working with the water and removing the tape. So I can cut here. It doesn't have to be exact. I'll do that later after everything dries out. We'll give that a try. I actually have not really tried that yet. This is really messy today. Oh my gosh. This is good for me. It's definitely a challenge. Okay. It's ready to go for the water. That part, I will go get my little reservoir of water and work on that and get that ready for you. I get a fairly large reservoir of water. I love Thai food, side note. And we have wonderful Thai restaurants here in the LA area. These are the containers they come in when we do takeout. And I just hang on to them forever. Not only just to use it as storage, but for my reservoirs. So note to self, if you love Thai food and you're in LA, go to the Thai restaurants, do takeout, and hang on to the plastic containers because they work great. So I'm going to drop my leg in here. And this is a W magazine, and that magazine is awesome. The tensile strength of the paper is phenomenal, But that being said, we need to soak this probably a little longer. So I'm going to let this soak pretty, I think you need to do a max of about 5 minutes. So we'll wait 5 minutes and I'll show you the magic after that. What I like to do is try to remove the back of the paper first with my fingertips, because my fingertips tend to be more gentler on this than this little bit of sponge. But if you have a rough time, I say start with the rough edge of a sponge, a regular dish sponge, and move on to the gentler side. That's what I would like to try to do, but sometimes your fingertips are enough. And in this case, I think it is going to be enough. So I just keep dampening my fingertips and removing the excess paper. I hope this is going to work. If you rub too hard with transparency, you run the risk of pulling the ink away from the image too. And you don't want to do that, because that's the whole point of transparency. I don't think this is happening. I am happy. Let's see how this all works out. So I'm just going to keep on peeling. You want to have this. You want to see this. This is the back of the image. It is peeling off quite well. It is W magazine. It is a high quality magazine. And yeah, so I did not hold this under the water for a full 5 minutes. So just something you have to consider, the quality of the paper and if it can handle the water. Take a look at your image, the front of the image. See, it's already starting to pull away, pulled some ink away. I'm not crazy about that. However, with the transparency, I will say sometimes when this happens, it adds to your image. It looks more rugged, a little bit more primitive, and your transparency, whatever you put underneath the transparency, will shine through, and that might give it a whole new meaning. So that is something to consider. It's not a fail if you scrub away too much, as I am doing here. Not only did this come off beautifully, I don't even have any of that gauzy paper, because sometimes if you've seen the other videos or you've done this technique yourself, sometimes the paper remains and it looks a bit gauzy. And that's not a bad thing either. Oh, but look, there's my, oh, wow, it ripped. It ripped, guys. I didn't plan that. Maybe we shouldn't use cheap tape. I'm gonna stay with it. Because I don't have another image like this. So I'm going to stay with it. Dip it again, and I'm going to let it dry a little bit. And now I really need to be careful. So this is a very delicate piece. And what I can do also, it's not a total fail, because I can make this part of the collage. I can go ahead and cut it, go ahead and go with the rip. That, again, will give it an interesting look for what I believe we're headed for. So this is done. This piece is done. I'm going to lay it on a nice piece of wax paper. And I'm going to continue on with some other pieces. I'm going to clean this water so we don't have any of the debris from the leg. The trick is going to be when we put her back together again. So that'll be fun to watch. So I'll show you a couple more pieces and get back to you and show you putting the puzzle back together. Here a leg. It has been turned into a transparency. There are little gaps, as I explained before, that this happens. It's not a bad thing, and actually I'm kind of happy about it. And the reason being, I like what's showing through on this piece. So I think it'll just add to what we are trying to accomplish here. I am also choosing bits of map to show through this transparency. I like how the freeway is shown through here. And the thing is that I'm not going to be able to show a lot in regards to the map. It's just going to barely show through the transparency. That's fine because that's kind of what I'm going for. And I'm just positioning, well, if it shows up, it shows up, or maybe where all of the streets are, or I could just have the color itself, maybe. That's where my thinking process is, so I'm playing with it a lot. However, while we still have some adhesive on here, and you can totally put it on to the ephemera, it'll stay, but it won't stay really secure. And since that's the case, I need to add some adhesive. Now, Mod Podge, which I have used and I encourage you to use as well, is awesome. I'm doing something a little different today, and I'm using acrylic medium instead, just to try something a wee bit different. So I'm gingerly applying a little bit of acrylic to the back of my transparency, onto the transparency itself. See, it's still kind of sticky, and that is fine. We can live with that. And I'm just applying it just a little bit. Paintbrush, nothing fancy, nothing crazy. The wonderful thing about acrylic medium is it dries clear, so we won't need to worry about that. I still have the tape on here. I left a little excess tape when I created this transparency, when I was peeling off the backing. There's still a little bit of tape on there, and I'll show you why I did that in just a second. And I'm just peeling this up. Of course, I can put the acrylic medium on first before applying the transparency onto the ephemera. It's fine. I don't think it's going to matter. But this is actually kind of a new place for me. I put a lot of medium on here. Ooh. This is kind of new for me. And that was messy. It's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. But I tend to be heavy-handed with my medium, as I have shared in other videos. Not great because you waste medium and sometimes it makes things messy. And craftsmanship is always important in any artistic venture. See, I got some extra acrylic medium there. All right, let's clean it up. Everything's all right. So I like the way this is coming out. I actually like how some of the ink was taken off of the original image, and you can really see through. Well, you can see through. It probably doesn't read as a map, and I'm okay with that. I just want to see how this turns out. So I'm just going to cut out this section of map, and I am going to trim around the limb here. I could use my X-Acto. I'm not going to. I just feel like using the scissors right now. And I'm also trying to rebuild the body the way I cut it out, because it'll just be easier to put everything back together. Off screen, I went ahead and did the other leg and foot. Remember how it kind of peeled apart? I like the way that looked, and I'm going to put it back together like that. So I'm just rebuilding it the way the model was situated. I have her over here. Let's move her over. I know it's kind of hard to see. There's the leg. I'm going to put it in the space that it was there. And it's not going to be exact. She's going to look like, I believe she's going to look like she is in bits and parts. And I'm fine with that because she's a collage. She's a mixed media collage. This is obviously it's analog, but this is really mixed media because we're using that acrylic medium. So I'm going to continue cutting this and put her back together and move on to my other transparent pieces. going to call this done. I am going to call it fractured. And it just goes to show, no matter what type of plan I may have, I start out with an idea and somehow I deviate to something else. I am definitely considering this experimental. I do love how the transparency worked here on the Thomas guide and here. But will I do it again? Yes, I'll definitely try something like this again. Do I like this final result? I'm okay with it right now. I am going to sleep on it and tell you for sure in the morning how I feel. But I would love to know how you feel about the technique and if this is something you experiment with in your own work. So, as always, I am very grateful for your viewership and your time. I hope you enjoyed this portion of my collage journey, and I will see you in the next video.